No need whatsoever. And once again, this is another sign where evidence shows one thing, and the UN report, because it's based on faulty methodology, clearly shows that they're not looking at reality.
But they
Unfortunately,
are, aren't they?
what they've done... I'll explain, sir.
I know, but the reality were the numbers of people killed, the women and children killed in this
No,
attack.
not on the contrary. On the contrary, the reality that it has been exposed...
The board found there was no firing from within the compound and no explosives from within the school. So it was either a mistake bombing the school or it was deliberate.
First of all, the school was never bombed, and the UN itself put out a statement saying that to be the case. After they accused us of all sorts of terrible things, the UN actually had to retract on that. Secondly, it was independently confirmed by several media outlets that there was hostile fire from Hamas immediately adjacent to that school against our forces. And we were just returning fire.
But
the UN did not confirm that, and that just shows how this report is flawed.
But the UN says there was no firing from within the compound and no explosives from inside the school.
No one said there was firing from inside the compound. I chose my words very carefully. I said the Hamas.
So why did you drop mortar bombs on it?
We didn't. We didn't. That's why you got it wrong, sir. Your facts are completely wrong.
The UN has
mortar shells.
The UN says the undisputed cause.
Fire.
The UN says the undisputed cause was the firing of heavy mortar rounds by the IDF.
No, on the contrary. On the contrary. You had a situation where you had a UN facility. Hamas deliberately used that facility as a shield, shooting mortar shells at our forces from outside the facility. We returned fire. Our fire also landed outside the facility. And this was a part of Hamas strategy of brutalizing UN facilities, using them as human shields for their war machine.
The UN investigated 9 incidents and found Israel was to blame in 6 out of the 9 incidents when deaths and injuries were caused to people sheltering at UN property. Now, are you saying the UN is wrong in all of those cases?
I'm saying this report is flawed. I can also tell you, and I think Al Jazeera did a story on this, we did our own independent investigation and we looked into these cases, and we found, of course, a situation where the orders of the IDF soldiers, our soldiers going into combat, were crystal clear that UN neutrality was to be respected, that UN personnel, UN facilities were not to be targeted. And in these cases where there were firefights in the immediate vicinity of UN facilities, it was only because the terrorists had opened fire at us, exploiting these UN facilities as a human shield. This has been documented not just by Israeli spokespeople, the New York Times, AP, the Globe and Mail. Who else do you have to listen to? Well, this report is so flawed, it's difficult to take it seriously.